Tonight, if anyone ever questioned whether Kenya is continuously making democratic progress, today's epilogue is perhaps the evidence. Kenya ushered its fifth administration since attaining self-rule, turning a new chapter in its history. Dr. William Ruto was sworn into office as the fifth president after emerging the winner of the August polls and the subsequent validation of his victory by the Supreme Court. It is, however, worth to note that his win was at the backdrop of a hotly contested poll whose results paint a picture of a country deeply divided in the middle. But that is not my focus tonight. See, Kenya tonight wears the tiara of democracy whose opulence was for all to see, a peaceful handover of power in a region that does not often experience such. To put into context, some of the visiting presidents who attended today's inauguration are Africa's strong men who either changed their constitutions to extend their term limits or completely decimated their opposition. That power can move from one person to another to them is yet so foreign. In fact, some have witnessed the transition to the third, fourth, and now fifth Kenyan administration while still at the helm of leadership and in their respective countries. But in Kenya it does, thanks to a progressive constitution. And it is that constitution that we have a duty to protect, irrespective of who becomes the president and who comes to office. Good evening. These are the stories making headlines tonight.
Mr. President, please repeat after me. I,
William Ruto,
out with the fourth and in with the fifth, as William Ruto takes oath of office to usher in the fifth administration. President Ruto signs first executive order number 1 to appoint the 6 Court of Appeal judges rejected by his predecessor.
I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal.
Tonight we travel to the nursery school where the President William Ruto went to.
So tulitenga hapa ili iwe kumbukumbu kuonesha pali ambapo alisomea akiwa mdogo na pia pali ambapo alitoka.
This as Sugoi residents express optimism that their son will transform the country. And Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. Good evening, I am Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. William Samoei Ruto has been sworn in as the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya. The ceremony took place at the Kasarani Stadium here in Nairobi. Our senior reporter Sharon Baranga begins our broadcast tonight.
A few minutes to 1 p.m. William Ruto, who served as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya in the last 10 years, was about to earn a new title. Ruto, who was accompanied by his wife, Rachel Ruto, took to the stage at Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi to be sworn in as Kenya's fifth president. While holding the Bible with his right hand, he took the first oath of allegiance of the office of president, a commitment to assure the country of his willingness to protect the constitution and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya.
I, William Samoei Ruto,
in full realization of the high calling I assume as President
of Kenya
of the Republic of Kenya,
do swear
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya,
that I will obey,
preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya.
And then a second oath of due execution of the functions of office of president, a commitment to executing their mandates without favorism or breaching the laws enshrined in the Constitution.
Mr. President-elect, please repeat after me. I,
William Samoei Ruto,
swear that I will truly and diligently serve the people and the Republic of Kenya in the office of the President of the Republic of Kenya, that I will diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the office of President of the Republic of Kenya, and I will do justice to all in accordance with this Constitution as by law established and the laws of Kenya without fear, favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
Tumpongeze tena kwa makofi.
He then signed the two oaths and certificate of inauguration, which confirms the ceremony took place. The Chief Justice also appended her signature on the documents, after which they were sealed with the official seal of the Chief Justice. This was followed by the same process by the incoming Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. However, Gachagua did not sign the inauguration certificate, only accorded to Ruto, who assumed power as the head of state. CJ afterwards declared the duo duly elected president and deputy president respectively.
To the president, you may retreat to your seat. Thank you very much.
The Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Anne Amadi, then handed over a briefcase containing the documents, that is, the oaths and the certificate of inauguration, to Head of Public Service, Dr. Joseph Kinyua. And then it was time for immediate former President Uhuru Kenyatta to hand over instruments of power to President Ruto, which signified transition of power. The first to be handed over was the country's constitution.
Tumpongeze kwa makofi anapopokezwa Katiba ya Jamhuri ya Kenya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais.
And then the presidential ceremonial soared.
BAMBA anakuwa amiri jeshi mkuu wa majeshi ya ulinzi ya Kenya.
Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Rais.
Now, the inauguration of William Ruto as the fifth president was punctuated by elaborate military drills as the defense forces welcomed their new commander-in-chief. Our very own Stanley Nyaringita breaks down the military tradition in the once-in-5-year tradition.
Kwa kipindi cha kupeana zana za mamlaka.
The inauguration of the fifth president of Kenya also came with the installation of President William Ruto as the fifth commander-in-chief of the defense forces of the Republic of Kenya.
Standing for this session.
Immediately, the legal part of the ceremony, which includes the oath-taking and signing of inauguration certificates, ended. It was time to take over the reins as the commander-in-chief of the defense forces. And in swift precision, outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, escorted by Chief of Defense Forces General Robert Kibochi, was called upon to hand over the instruments of power to the incoming president amid cheers from the thousands who thronged the venue to witness the once-in-10 years tradition. As custom, the 2010 Constitution of Kenya was handed over to the incoming president, signifying that the country will be ruled in accordance with the law. Concurrently, the aide-de-camp, who has served President Kenyatta since 2018, bid his old boss goodbye with a salute as he crossed over to stand behind the new president. An ADC's role, which is performed by a military officer, is mostly ceremonial to give the presidency dignity and honor. This was followed by the handover of the gold-coated stainless steel sword from the outgoing president.
Because, we have an exiting president, right? So he will be given the sword. This is the symbol of power. And that's what he will hold on and say that this is the sword you've given me. It's in the Constitution. And the sword is therefore, it's a military function. The sword is to protect against the enemy. That's the whole essence of the sword, and is holding the sword that I'll protect my state against the enemy.
A series of military traditions followed after the man of the moment was escorted from the inauguration arena. As the national anthem filled the stadium, President Kenyatta's blue presidential standard, the mark of a president's authority and presence, was being lowered. This concurrently saw President Ruto's yellow standard, which bears the wheelbarrow symbol for the UDA party, hoisted. At the same time, Uhuru's presidential portrait was replaced with the incoming presidency's. The public was later treated to a 21-gun salute for the man of the day. Uhuru's blue flag was folded carefully and packed in a special box and presented to him by General Kibochi as a show of gratitude to his service as the President and Commander-in-Chief for the past 10 years. The synchronization of the military traditions were concluded by a precise drum and trumpet fanfare as a guard of honor marched off while saluting the new boss. After the exit of Uhuru, the country's new CEO had a chance to make his first ever lap as president, accompanied by KDF Chief General Robert Kibochi in the ceremonial car with his yellow standard fixed on the front side.
His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, mounting...
Stanley Nyaringita, TV 47, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua's motorcades were decorated with luxurious vehicles and strict security before the two were sworn in as national leaders. Ruto arrived at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, 5 minutes to noon. Mike Agwongo with the details.
After the Supreme Court okayed the election of William Ruto as president, the clock started ticking towards today as the president and his deputy got ready to ascend to power. And when the day came, the official deputy president residence in Karen was a beehive of activities as the incoming president and his family prepared to go for his inauguration. But first, a cup of tea. A few meters away at the deputy president's residence, also in Karen, Rigathi Gachagua organized a prayer service before heading to Kasarani. The service was meant to put the day's activities in the hands of God before proceeding to Kasarani.
And I want to tell the people of Kenya to take care of family. But at the end of it, those are your people. When things were very difficult for me, my very good friends ran away from me. My business partners betrayed me. Others disowned me. Others switched their phones on me. Others blocked me. Others disappeared when they had them around. But my family never deserted me a single day.
Gachagua and his family arrived at Kasarani Stadium at 11:40 a.m. A few minutes after Gachagua arrived, President William Ruto made his way to Kasarani Stadium for his swearing-in ceremony, attended by many Kenyans, local and global leaders. His motorcade drove in ecstatic fashion as it meandered through the light traffic from his official residence in Karen to the Kasarani Stadium, making his final trip as deputy president accompanied by his family. With lots of hope that the cost of living will be lowered when Ruto is inaugurated, Kenyans waited for him on the road, wishing him all the best on his inauguration day. Ruto arrived at Kasarani Stadium at 11:55 a.m., 10 minutes before the guest of honor, President Uhuru Kenyatta, arrived. After his ascension to power, the new president departed to his new residence in a presidential motorcade complete with outriders, as his predecessor left to venue without the pomp that comes with being president. William Ruto's arrival to Kasarani Stadium was overwhelmingly welcomed by more than 60,000 Kenyans that they anticipated to get a new king that will rule them in the next 5 years. Mike, GOtv 47 at Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike Kagwongo, for that report. Now, lowering the cost of fertilizer to 3,500 shillings for a 50-kilogram bag, up from the current 6,500, is among promises made by President William Ruto in his maiden speech as the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya. Ruto also promised to create more job opportunities, a favorable business and enterprise environment, as well as implement the Hustler Fund. And Rinkilemi reports.
Tumpongeze kwa makofi anapopokezwa katiba ya Jamhuri ya Kenya.
In his first speech as president, the new president made promises that largely mirror his 100 days in office pledge made during his campaigns. Local farmers are among Kenyans expected to benefit first from the William Ruto-led government. In his maiden address, Ruto promised to make available 1.4 million bags of fertilizer to farmers and reduce the price of fertilizer from 6,500 shillings per 50 kilos to 3,500 shillings starting next week.
Our priority intervention, therefore, is to make fertilizer, good quality seed, and other agricultural inputs affordable and available. We have already made arrangements to make 1.4 million bags of fertilizer available at Kenya shillings 3,500 for a 50-kilogram bag, down from the current 6,500.
More job opportunities, and especially for the more than 600,000 young people who join the labor market every year, is also one of the issues that the Ruto government will focus on. Ruto saying his main agenda is to create a good business environment, decriminalize businesses, and support people in the informal sector to organize themselves into stable, viable, and credit-worthy business entities.
Every year, 800,000 young people join the workforce, and over 600,000 of them do not find opportunities for productive work. Moreover, our young people in cities and towns face very hostile environments, many times treated as a nuisance and their hassles criminalized. Those who seek to set up formal businesses are faced with a bureaucratic monster that is multiple licenses.
Other promises that President William Ruto made on his first day in office include construction of 20 more markets within Nairobi City, return of port operations to Mombasa, which had been moved to Naivasha by the previous government, as well as implementation of the Hustler Fund, dedicated to capitalization of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises through chamas and SACCOs.
We shall take measures to drive down the cost of credit. Our starting point is to shift the Credit Reference Bureau framework from its current practice of arbitrary, punitive, all-or-nothing blacklisting of borrowers, which denies borrowers credit.
It is now a wait and see for Kenyans as they look forward to seeing whether promises made by the Commander-in-Chief and the fifth President of Kenya, William Ruto, are fulfilled. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
Tonight, President William Ruto has moved in to undo policy government changes made by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, in his maiden speech after he took over the reins of power, began his official duty in earnest by issuing an executive order appointing 6 judges rejected by Kenyatta. And as Apollo Kamau now reports, Ruto's populist directives on his first day as president were also extended to the National Police Service and Mombasa residents.
In his first executive order after taking over power, the country's 5th president moved in to fix the bad blood between the judiciary and the executive by appointing 6 judges rejected by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, in a series of populist directives in his maiden speech, pledging to preside over the swearing-in ceremony on Wednesday.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, this afternoon I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission. And tomorrow, I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
And in making good his promise, the president on Tuesday evening signed what would be his executive order number 1, appointing 4 Court of Appeal judges and another 2 Environment and Land Court judges. The 6 judges are Weldon Korir, Agri Muchelule, George Odunga, and Professor Joel Ngoge. Others are Chief Magistrate Evans Makori and High Court Deputy Registrar Judith Omange. The move coming in the backdrop of the Supreme Court verdict upholding Ruto's victory. This also coming as part of Kenya Kwanza campaign pledge that also extended to increased budgetary allocation of 3 billion shillings annually.
These resources will support the bottom-up scaling of justice by increasing the number of small claims.
We apologize for that. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua took a swipe on the immediate president, Uhuru Kenyatta, on what he terms as intimidation on their journey to see Kenya's top seat. From taking over a broke country to claims of intimidation, the Deputy President seemingly called out the outgoing president, as Elizabeth Mutuku now tells us.
After taking the oath of office, President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua had a chance to address Kenyans, with the number 2 using the podium to bask their glory, which they attributed to God through prayers by Kenyans and their families.
And today, I want to thank God because a village boy has become the president of Kenya.
In a thinly veiled attack at the outgoing president, the deputy president, despite the presence of visiting dignitaries, once again opened up on the tribulations they went through while seeking the highest office in the land.
Tell the people of Kenya that finally you are free. Kenya is now a democratic country. You don't have to look back when you do something. All Kenyans are free to associate with whoever they want. It became a crime in this country to be afraid of William Ruto. It is only that it was not put in the record. From today, I want to tell the people of Kenya that you are finally free. I want to tell public servants, I want to tell all the people of Kenya, from now, you don't have to talk with each other through the WhatsApp for fear of being recorded and persecuted by state agencies.
Without mincing words, Gachagua says the Kenya Kwanza government under President William Samoei Ruto has inherited a dilapidated economy, promising to take the country back to economic heights when the now late former President Mwai Kibaki was exiting power. This coming just a day after the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta laid out what he says are achievements, key among them economic growth.
President and his team have a difficult task ahead. The truth of the matter is that we have inherited a dilapidated economy that is facing almost an economic shutdown. We have a 10 trillion public debt. 6 million Kenyans have no employment. 14 million Kenyans are in CRB. We have a demoralized public service. It is your prayers that will help our president to put up a team and start work from day one to liberate this country economically and put it back to where President Mwai Kibaki left us 10 years ago.
Further, Gachagua in his speech to the country says more so the state departments were under state capture in the past regime, but they will see into their freedom under the Kenya Kwanza government.
Again, poor people will never again be evicted in brutal evictions by state agencies. And I say, freedom is here. Let every Kenyan be prepared to work hard. Let us give our new president a chance. And I beg you to be patient with him. We have come to the treasury and the coffers are empty. We have to start from scratch. We ask for people of Kenya to be patient and give us a chance to try to get things working.
For the first time in Kenyan history, a man has made it to the House on the Hill on his first trial, his deputy being just a one-time MP. Now, the challenge ahead of them being to deliver on the lofty promises they made to Kenyans. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Kasarani Stadium, Nairobi.
Now let's revisit Apollo Kamau's story, and tonight President William Ruto has moved in to undo policy government changes made by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, in his maiden speech after he took over the reins of power, began his official duties in earnest by issuing a directive, an executive order appointing 6 judges rejected by Kenyatta. And as Apollo Kamau now reports, Ruto's populist directives on his first day as president were also extended to the National Police Service and Mombasa residents.
In his first executive order after taking over power, the country's 5th president moved in to fix the bad blood between the judiciary and the executive by appointing 6 judges rejected by his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto, in a series of populist directives in his maiden speech, pledging to preside over the swearing-in ceremony on Wednesday.
To further demonstrate my commitment to the independence of the judiciary, this afternoon I will appoint the 6 judges already nominated for appointment to the Court of Appeal, which was done 3 years ago by the Judicial Service Commission. And tomorrow, I shall preside over their swearing in so that they can get on with the business of serving the people of Kenya.
And in making good his promise, the president on Tuesday evening signed what would be his executive order number 1, appointing 4 Court of Appeal judges and another 2 Environment and Land Court judges. The 6 judges are Weldon Korir, Agri Muchelule, George Odunga, and Professor Joel Ngoge. Others are Chief Magistrate Evans Makori and High Court Deputy Registrar Judith Omange. The move coming in the backdrop of the Supreme Court verdict upholding Ruto's victory. This also coming as part of Kenya Kwanza campaign pledge that also extended to increased budgetary allocation of 3 billion shillings annually.
These resources will support the bottom-up scaling of justice by increasing the number of small claims courts from the current 25 to 100.
The National Police Service, which was on Kenya Kwanza crosshairs for being used to intimidate Ruto and his allies, will now control its own budget, previously domiciled at the office of the president.
Financial independence of the police will give impetus to the fight against corruption and end the political weaponization of the criminal justice system, an undertaking I made to the people of Kenya.
In what will be a populist directive politically in the Coast region, President Ruto has further reversed Kenyatta's directive on the clearance of goods, which will now be done from the Mombasa port instead of Naivasha. The move, part of Ruto's campaign pledge, comes ahead of his coastal tour to the coast this week.
This is the moment they were all waiting for. He came here as president-elect, and he has left here as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and the president for the next 5 years. He has a lot of entry, and he tried his best to build on what he promised during the campaigns, that indeed he remembers and he is going to implement it moving forward. Apol Kamau, TV47 from Kasarani Stadium.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning the price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Oh. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefits.
The home of untold stories.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to more news. And President William Ruto has vowed to strengthen ties with the international community, saying his government will continue to promote both bilateral and multilateral ties, and at the same time champion for free trade and development within the East Africa region. Paul Muniu has more.
The Kenya's fifth president inauguration ceremony was not only attended by more than 60,000 Kenyans, but also 18 heads of states graced the occasion, with the leaders pledging to work with President William Ruto. In his maiden presidential speech, President William Ruto lauded the Democratic Republic of Congo for joining the East African community, while at the same time promising to partner with the member states for the interest of peace, security and trade partnership.
Kenya is fully committed to the implementation of the East African Community Treaty and its protocols of free movement of people, goods and services. Kenya will continue, ladies and gentlemen, to be a dedicated partner to peace, security, and prosperity of East Africa region. We look forward to deepening our integration.
He also expressed his government commitments towards managing international relations with the rest of the world and committed to the peace initiatives designed to maintain stability. He further revealed that his predecessor, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, will remain active as he will continue to chair peace initiatives in the region on behalf of the country.
I commit on the peace initiatives in our country, in our region, including both in Ethiopia and in the Great Lakes region, and myself in particular will support those initiatives that will be chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And I want to thank you, Your Excellency, for graciously agreeing to support us and to help me in those interventions.
With the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns, the head of states argued that the African continent has the ability to fight global warming through the adaptation of clean energy, therefore urged African heads of states to commit to tackle climate change.
In Kenya, we will lead this endeavor by reaffirming our commitment to transition to 100% clean energy by 2030. We call on all our brothers and sisters in our continent to join us in this journey. Africa has the opportunity to lead the world. We have immense potential for renewable energy. Reducing costs of renewable energy technologies make this the most viable energy source. Kenya is on transition to clean energy that will support jobs, local economies, and sustainable industrialization.
Paul Muniu, TV 47.
Now, heads of state and dignitaries today trickled into the country to celebrate the inauguration of their newest colleague, President William Ruto, at Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi. The head of state has lauded, the heads of state have lauded Kenya for maintaining peace during the entire electioneering period and embracing the president's win. Chepto Boit with more.
Mheshimiwa Rais Daktari William Samoei Ruto.
Various heads of state and several dignitaries joined thousands of Kenyans who thronged the Kasarani Stadium for the inauguration of the fifth President William Ruto. While congratulating the president in the national event, boasting of their long-standing relation, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has challenged the first-in-command to prioritize the integration of the East African market to realize development across the community.
I know His Excellency Ruto. I've met him a number of times in Uganda, and I know he likes ideas and frank talking. I thought that in order for Uganda and Kenya and Tanzania and Congo and Burundi and Rwanda and South Sudan and Somalia, which is coming now, in order for us to catch up with the United States, we need also to look at the issue of the regional market. Because when you produce, who buys? The more people that buy from you, the better for the business and the better for job creation.
Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan largely lauded Kenyans for maintaining peace during the entire electioneering period while pledging to work with the incoming administration.
Ndugu zangu wa Kenya, tunawapongeza nyinyi kwa kuonesha ukomavu wa demokrasia na kumaliza uchaguzi salama, na leo tuko hapa pamoja kama Wakenya na wa East Africa tunashangilia uapisho wa rais wetu mpya. Nataka niwaambie ndugu zetu wa Kenya, kama kuna zawadi mlioitoa kwa Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki mwaka huu ni zawadi ya amani mlioiweka katika uchaguzi.
Burundi President Evariste Ndayishimiye, who also doubles up as the chair of the East African Community, on his part heaped praises on Kenya, terming it as a country of peace, while congratulating the fifth president of Kenya, William Ruto. President Ndayishimiye asked Kenya and Burundi to maintain the already existing relationship that goes beyond trade.
Wa Kenya na Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki kwa ujumla wanatazamia kwa hamu uongozi wako ndugu yangu Ruto, ambao utachukua sio tu kuipeleka nchi yako mbele kwa kimaendeleo, bali pia kuimarisha ushirikiano wa kikanda.
At least 20 countries were represented in today's event, which saw their leaders being received by Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo, Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, among others who lined up to receive the dignitaries. Chipto Boyd, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, William Ruto's swearing in as the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya was punctuated by pomp and color, as Kenyans from all walks of life thronged the Kasarani Stadium to witness the change of guard. Moige William paints a picture of the colorful event that led to William Ruto taking up the reins of leadership of the country.
Former President Uhuru Kenyatta handed over the reins of power to his successor William Ruto on Tuesday at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, in an event that was with pomp and color. Uhuru handed over the sword and constitution to Ruto as a symbol of the completion of the transition process according to the assumption of the Office of the President Act. As of 5 a.m., the 60,000-seat capacity Kasarani Sports Center was full to its brim, with President Ruto supporters donning in the UDA party colors of yellow and green filling up the venue. With thousands of Kenyans locked out of the stadium, a number of them made dangerous efforts to make it into the stadium by climbing up the wall, as dozens of them fell down, leading to injuries, with emergency response teams moving in quickly to offer first aid. The situation was restored, with more police officers manning the perimeter wall as police water cannon truck repulsed the onlookers. Inside the stadium, excited Kenyans danced along to the live band music being played as they sang along to some of the lyrics. By 9 a.m., dignitaries and head of states started streaming in, and the charged crowd could be heard cheering as they welcome the various leaders from outside the country who joined the nation in the change of guard ceremony. The moment of the day fast approaching, incoming Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was first to make it to Kasarani, followed by the man of the moment from the Deputy President's residence in Karen. Minutes later, former head of state Uhuru from State House followed in the well-decorated presidential motorcade. The moment of the day arrived, swearing of the new head of state, guided by the order of the swearing in of the president and his deputy, conducted by the judiciary.
I, William Samoei Ruto.
Uhuru Kenyatta handing over instruments of power to William Ruto, and one will not fail to see the AD camp switch position. With the business of the day done, former president was first to leave the venue as William Ruto went round waving to the crowd, this time in the military vehicle of the Commander-in-Chief. President Ruto, together with the First Lady, left the venue escorted by the full presidential escort team.
From all walks of life, Kenyans from across the country streamed in here at the Moi International Sports Center, from the young to the old, to witness the swearing in of President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Moige William, TV47, from Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nairobi.
Now, despite mixed reactions countrywide over the new education curriculum, CBC, President William Ruto now says he will be forming a task force to collect stakeholders' view on the same before making a decision before next year. Take a look.
There is a robust conversation, ladies and gentlemen, in the country on education, and in particular, the implementation of CBC curriculum. Public participation is critical in this matter. I will establish an education reform task force in the presidency, which will be launched in the coming weeks. It will collect views from all players in line with the constitutional demand of public participation, and we are particularly alive to the anxieties of parents on the twin transition of the last 844 class and the first CBC class in January next year. I assure all that there will be a solution to the matter before then.
Now, citizens from all across the country were today glued to the inauguration ceremony that had William Ruto declared and sworn in as president. And as Beatrice Watare now reports, it was business as usual in most counties, with high expectations being directed towards the new government with a hope of changing under Ruto's reign.
In Kapsabet, Nandi County, which is one of the strongholds of the incoming president, residents opted to follow the inauguration proceedings in public places such as hotels and shops as they continued with their day-to-day activities. Residents further expressed their gratitude and asked the president-elect to look into high cost of living as well as the high cost of fertilizers for the farmers.
Ruto tulichukua kuwa president yetu, tuangalie maneno yetu ya vita mingi kama chakula, mbolea. Unajua wakati huko juu maneno ya mbolea wanauza bei rahisi, lakini wetu hapa Rift Valley wanauza bei kali sana. Sasa kama Ruto kama ameingia sasa jukwani, tumeangalia Ruto sasa niko mbele. Na Ruto wanaangalia maneno yetu sana.
Jubilations were witnessed in Nyeri County, with residents coming together to cook and make merry to celebrate the swearing-in ceremony of the incoming president and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua. They further expressed high hopes in the incoming government.
Tunapika mshahara ya nyama siku ya leo ni kwa sababu rais wetu William Ruto na naibu wake Rigathi Gachagua, our brother, wameapishwa leo na wamedeclare new president na mdogo wake Rigathi Gachagua. Tuko na furaha tele katika kaunti ya Nyeri na katika Nyeri town, kwa sababu tunajua tuko na kiongozi wetu wa Mkikuyu anaitwa Rigathi Gachagua, atasingira jambo lolote la Mkikuyu na ataletewa Kikuyu mali.
Kwangu nimefurahi sana kuona Dr. William Ruto akiapishwa kama rais wa 5 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya wakiwa na Rigathi Gachagua. Leo tumefurahi sana kwa sababu mkubwa kwanza umekuja kwetu Nyeri. Rigathi Gachagua ni wa hapa kwetu Nyeri. Nimefurahi sana na watu wa Nyeri wamefurahi. Hata ukiangalia hata watu wa Nyeri wameanza mchera wa nyama.
Residents of Kerogoya town in Kirinyaga County who could not make it to Kasarani Stadium for the inauguration ceremony were following the event on TV at the center of the town. They as well celebrated His Excellency Ruto as a dedicated leader and whom they trust will serve Kenyans.
William amesema atapea Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta kasi washikane pamoja. Pale alikuwa atakuwa amelemewa, anaenda anamuuliza advice ili watasaidiana na vile atampea kasi wasaidiane na kasi iendelee na Kenya yetu iendelee mbele.
Reporting for TV47, my name is Beatrice Watare.
Now, with the story of hope reverberating across the country, with many talking about the chicken seller who became the president, our very own Chichi Josephine went to where the dream began and has filed the following report.
Kamagot village in Sugoi, Uasin Gishu County. The home village of the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto. A place where Ruto was born on 21st December, 56 years ago to Daniel Cheruiyot and Sarah Cheruiyot. We embarked on a journey to this remote area. Here we are ushered into the serenity of a forest-like village where locals were busy waiting for President Ruto's inauguration.
Alilelewa hapa kwa MB ndio sasa ameenda mpaka amekuwa sa president elect. So sikia leo tunaongoja tu apishwe ashike usukani ili tuweze kuendeleza uchumi wa Kenya pamoja.
This old-looking structure is not only special but also significant. It is in this structure that the fifth President William Ruto began his early childhood education before joining Kamagut Primary School. Come along as I take you round. Locals here narrate of the story behind this Kamagut Nursery School that has for many years remained standing as the true north of the humble life of President Ruto.
Tulitenga hapa ili iwe kumbukumbu kuonesha pali ambapo alisomea akiwa mdogo na pia pali ambapo alitoka akiwa mdogo hadi sasa amekuwa president.
Kamagut Primary is another proud school that the fifth president joined after his early childhood education.
This Kamagut Primary School is the school that has produced His Excellency the President William Samoei Arap Ruto. We as Kamagut fraternity, that is the pupils, the parents, the teachers, we are indeed very grateful about this great feat and achievement that has occurred in our school.
About 2 kilometers from the nursery school, we find Chebet Keter, President William Ruto's nursery teacher, who is now aged, and she proudly narrates the kind of a pupil Ruto was back in the days.
Nilifunza Ruto na wenzake kutoka mwezi wa 71 na nikaona tu tabia yao, hao walikuwa watoto wazuri. Alikuwa si wakaiti. Kwanza Ruto alikuwa chapchap kama anafunza vitu yote, ndio nikaona huyu mtoto ako na tabia mzuri.
We managed to get to Mama Ruto's compound where Ruto spent his childhood life. This small house, popularly known as Singera, we are told is the first house that Ruto built after his high school education.
Kwa hakika ni furaha isiyo na kifani. Leo Ruto William Samoei ni kiongozi ambaye tunatarajia haweze kuiweza kutimiza yale ambaye aliwaahidi wa Kenya.
Nilikuwa matamu yako, pato unakumbuka mimi. Sasa matamu yako ameeseka sasa. Siwezi hata kutembea. Ningetaka we usaidia mimi kwa shida yoyote ambaye niko naye.
I want to thank God because a village boy has become the president of Kenya.
And when the history of this great republic will be written, some pages will bear the name of this unpopular village of Sugoi that produced the fifth president of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto. Reporting for TV 47 from Sugoi village in Uasin Gishu County, my name is Chichi Josephine.
Thank you, Chichi Josephine, for that report. Elsewhere, First Lady Rachel Ruto and the Second Lady Pastor Dorcas Rigathi are two women who evidently showed they take religion seriously, with prayer being the center of the growth of their families. A note that was not missed by both the first-in-command, President William Ruto, and his Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. Mudhoni Maina takes a look at the two God-fearing women.
They say behind every successful man is a woman. But in the incoming administration, what is behind the president and his number two are not just ordinary women, but prayer warriors. One being a pastor who have set themselves apart as the perfect example that prayers work. This was clearly depicted during Ruto's inauguration as he and his deputy in a detailed manner thanked their wives Rachel Ruto and Dorcas Rigathi for standing by them during the tough moments leading to the August polls and for taking their tribulations at the time to the Lord in prayer.
To thank my wife and family for always praying for me and praying for my team.
That even when state agencies came for me with brutal efficiency, you never abandoned me.
my family, I will ever cherish you for standing with us. And I must tell the people of Kenya, please take care of your families. Those are the only people you can rely on.
Standing in Kasarani in their almost matching outfits, First Lady Rachel Ruto and Second Lady Dorcas Rigathie's sisterhood in Christ has been the talk of town, as their friendship moments seem to be an instant bond for spouses who will be expected to spend a lot of time with their respective husbands in their political life.
I want to thank my sister, Dr. Dorcas Rigathie, for making this meeting possible. Thank you so much, my sister. May the Lord bless you for the good work that you are doing, for championing the work of God in our nation.
But where does the story begin? Mama Rachel, aged 54, is a trained teacher, a businesswoman, and a women's economic empowerment activist. Born on 20th November 1968, Rachel is a graduate of Kenyatta University, where she graduated with a Bachelor's of Education degree and a Master of Arts in 2011 from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa.
Excellency, the President and the First Lady.
With Ruto's ascent to power riding on the hustler's wave, his love story with Rachel started on an unprivileged footing as their paths crossed in the early 90s when they were both part of an evangelistic team and would go for missions together.
I ask you to kneel down right there where you are.
On the other hand, Pastor Dorcas Rigathie is known as a very religious individual, as a story which raises from the deep trenches of being a house help in Kiandoto Thika to being the second lady besides Rigathie's missing rib is rather intriguing.
Shall not feel superior to the people.
Dorcas received an honorary doctorate in 2021 from Breakthrough International Bible University in recognition of her commitment in serving widows under the Dorcas Rigathie Mercy Ministries.
Lord is very good, and I want you to just give him a round of applause because he's a good friend.
Dorcas met Rigathie in the 1980s at a point in life when she almost gave up, till when she got a chance to visit the late former President Daniel Moi's Cabernet Gardens home. It is said that she created a scene while rushing for the podium before Gachagua, who was then an administrator, scooped to action and barred her. Dorcas was then invited to State House, where she met Gachagua again, and later on a bond was created between the two, which then culminated into marriage. Their husbands have taken office together, and it will be interesting to see how their wives forge ahead as well, working side by side for the good of all Kenyans. Muthoni Maina, TV 47.
Tumpongeze kwa makofi! Tumpongeze!
Now, as celebrations took center stage at the Kasarani grounds in Nairobi during President William Ruto's inauguration, things were a bit different in his Sugoi hometown, as the village remained deserted after a section of villagers left for Nairobi on Monday to witness the ceremony. Elizabeth Atieno now reports from Sugoi on what was a deserted village today.
I want to thank God because a village boy has become the President of Kenya.
It is here in Sugoi where President William Ruto was born on the 21st of December 1966. This village now finds itself in the books of history after producing the country's 5th president.
Ni furaha iliyoje kwa maana tumepata uongozi hapa nyumbani ambapo sisi wote kama wakazi hapa tunafurahi. Alilelewa hapa kwa MB, ndio sasa ameenda mpaka amekuwa sasa president.
Tunasikia vizuri sana kwa maana ni mtu wetu. Tulikuwa na yeye, anachua mimi, anachua jina anaitwa Chepojok. Hata tukikutana na yeye anachua mimi.
It is expected that villagers would flood the streets of this village carrying the special SIGNET plant to celebrate Ruto's victory. But that was not the case, as this village has since remained deserted. This is because a section of villagers embarked on a 346-kilometer journey to Nairobi's Kasarani Stadium to witness Ruto's swearing-in ceremony.
Tumebaki nyumbani kuweza kuchunga area. Tunasema asante sana kwa sababu ya hii siku. Tunaona ya kwamba ni siku kuu ambaye hata sisi hatuko tunatarajia kupata rais.
The state of seclusion experienced by a number of villagers left behind did not deter them from seeking other means of following the ceremony. As we toured the village, we came across this group of men following the swearing-in ceremony using their phone. A few meters from here, we arrive at Kamagut Primary School. Here, we find a group of pupils keenly following the event on a television set mounted on a chair.
Hapa Kamagut tumeamua kufuatilia kwa laptop kwa sababu tumeona laptop inaweza tuonyesha vizuri, tumeamua tujisanye mahali ili tuweze kuona laptop yetu.
Villagers who lack the luxury of a TV or a smartphone gathered in this small shop to watch their fellow village mate taking the oath of office.
Mimi ndo mwenye runinga na nimewekea hawa wanakijiji ili wafuatilie moja kwa moja kuapishwa kwa His Excellency the Dr. William Samoei Ruto.
Tumekuja hapa kuona rais wetu akiapishwa, tunafurahia, tukua wengi hivi tunafurahia na tunasema ni asanti.
A section of Sugoi residents are now calling on the president to revive the country's economy currently under duress. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
Now, thousands of Kenyans thronged the Kasarani Stadium as millions followed the inauguration of William Ruto as Kenya's 5th president. However, in Kisumu City County, the situation was different as residents steered clear of the inauguration ceremony, majority going about their business with little regard. Violet Auma was in the lakeside city of Kisumu and has filed the following report.
So help me God.
It was a historic day for Kenyans as William Ruto was sworn in Kenya's 5th president alongside his deputy Rigathi Gachagua.
Tumpongeze kwa makofi.
Contrary to the joy, excitement and celebrations witnessed in different parts of the country, much silence prevailed in the lakeside city, Kisumu Dala. 67 years old Caleb Juma is a resident of Kisumu City.
Hata alisema tapatia watu mkoza 6,000. Hiyo ilifurahisha watu. Na sole ni problem kubwa. Kwa sababu saa nyingine Ministry ya Education nasema watoto hapana pokuswa kufika saa 8, watoto wamepokuswa yote. Haya alisema tapatia sisi free education.
He says all is not lost, expressing optimism that the current generation will produce a leader who will fulfill Odinga's dream of leading this nation.
Sibado naona kama Nyanza yeye ndio bado tutakuwa kingpin yetu. Kwa kama nasema hii na hii tena atakuchagua mtu sinajua huyu mwingine.
Locals here say Raila is a voice of recon in Luo Nyanza, applauding him for initiating development projects during the Nusumkate government and handshake with the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Raila tumeanza kummiss saizi. Raila amepigania demokrasia ya Kenya kutoka ukoloni, enzi za ukoloni mpaka wa leo. Na unfortunately kitu ilikuwa inaitwa the third liberation, Raila hajatupeleka.
Despite ODM leader Raila Odinga vying 5 times for presidency unsuccessfully in this country, locals here still believe that he is their leader and Luo Nation spokesperson, vowing to support whoever Raila Odinga will bless for presidency in 2027.
Yeye ndiye akisema 2027 akirudi, bado tutakuwa nyuma yake kwa sababu tuna mwingine.
We are waiting for the direction from Baba, the Raila Amolo Odinga, to tell us what next and to give us direction.
Hatuna vijana wengi kwa siasa kama kabila zingine. So sasa hizi tungeombelea Raila, kuna vijana wanaojiweza. Watu kama Babu Owino, kuna watu kadhaa kama Jalango wote. Hao watu wajitokeze na Raila group moja hao.
Sema left, sema right. Mpaka Mungu tatoa roho yake, lakini kama bado mzima Raila ndio kingpin. Sugoi kama ingine. Kwa sababu hata tena Raila kuacha kuongoza Ujaluo tagawana kama kabla zingine.
They've urged President William Ruto, who was sworn in today, to provide leadership and equal share of the national cake, regardless of who voted for him, as well as finish projects initiated by his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Tutaomba sana hiyo bottom up implementation. Kama William Samoei Ruto atapenda sana watu Kenya mzima.
Tena kampanya mzuri, bado mwaka 5 bado tarudisha lakini kichezewa sisi taangalia, hata wale nasema hawezi piga kula atapiga.
Violet Auma, TV47, Kisumu.
From fixing the wanting state of the economy that has accelerated unemployment among the youth, arresting runaway corruption, to dealing with his government's appetite for debt, former President Uhuru Kenyatta leaves the country's top seat with misses and hits in equal measures. Flora Limuki now breaks down some of the promises that were never fulfilled.
As curtains come down on Uhuru Kenyatta's fourth administration, so is the hope that a host of promises personally made by the outgoing president would see the light of the day.
Show me an administration since independence that has taken action on corruption like I have done.
Corruption was one of the biggest issues that rocked Uhuru Kenyatta's boat for 10 years. And despite the promise to curb the menace, Kenyatta lives with unanswered questions on the corruption front.
Following the allegations of impropriety at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, better known as KEMSA, the relevant investigative agencies of our country are currently fully seized with the matter.
On the 26th of August 2020, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, the president gave investigators 21 days to complete the KEMSA scandal, with all persons found to be culpable from the investigations brought to book, notwithstanding their social status or political affiliations.
The relevant agencies should expedite their ongoing investigations and conclude the same within 21 days.
Close to 2 years on, Kenyans are yet to know who misappropriated the over 7 billion shillings meant for the sick. On the 4th of October 2021, Kenyans woke up to the news that President Kenyatta and his family secretly owned a network of offshore companies for decades. According to a huge leak of the Pandora Papers, the president and 6 members of his family linked to the 13 offshore companies. The president was then on a visit to the United States of America, promised a comprehensive response once he jets back home. That promise remains just a promise.
This is just a political circus.
On the 29th of December 2018, President Kenyatta was put to task to explain the nature of the deal between the government of Kenya and the Chinese government over the billions given for the construction of the SGR. In a joint question and answer session with journalists in Mombasa, the president then promised to make public the contract amid fears that the port of Mombasa was listed as collateral in the contract and the country risked losing the port. Among other notable promises the president made was lifestyle audits by all public officers, a promise he made when he began his second term in office. These are just but a few of the long list of unkept promises by the outgoing president, including numerous promises made in the Jubilee Manifesto. And as the country ushers in a new government, many remain with hope that the new administration will come with a new resolve to keep its promises. Flora Limuki, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta leaves office after a divided presidential campaign that left him and his deputy, turned now president, even more divided. From seemingly deep in popularity to losing a grip of his political stronghold, the outgoing president, however, upheld the constitution and handed over, albeit power, peacefully. Paul Kirobi with more.
Asante sana ladies za majeshi ya ulinzi na wimbo.
The saying power is transient was depicted today when immediate former President Uhuru Kenyatta handed over the reins of power to his friend turned political foe, William Ruto, at the Kasarani Stadium. Some few minutes after noon, Uhuru Kenyatta made what would be his last trip as president and commander-in-chief of the Defense Forces to the Kasarani Stadium, and after 10 years of presiding over countless national events as president, many argue that the president got a somewhat lukewarm reception as compared to his successor and his deputy. Upon arrival at the Kasarani Stadium, the former president conducted what would be his last military salute. The heated campaign period that further split the president and his deputy with the president didn't make matters any easy for the outgoing president, who had to sit and listen as his former deputy and his deputy tore apart his development records after he handed over reins of powers that went with his aide-de-camp. But it was not all gloom and doom, as the new president asked the outgoing president to take care of regional peace efforts. And after the installation of William Ruto as president, Uhuru Kenyatta was the first to leave the venue in a different, smaller motorcade as he began his new life as a private citizen after 10 years in the spotlight.
We prepare
Paul